What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? Dobrunsky here, and today we're going to be answering a question about the Immortal King set in Diablo 2, and that is it a Player's 8 viable build? We're going to explore that today with a godly IK setup. Can we clear a Player's 8 bail run? Let's find out. Alright guys, so there's three main disclaimer points that I just want to go over before we dive into a little bit of the gear, skill tree setup, and then showing the example Player's 8 bail run. Now this is for the Immortal King Barbarian specifically. I just want to answer the question, is it literally viable to run this character on Player's 8? So starting off, the first point that I want to cover is that the Whirlwind breakpoints, the IAS breakpoints, are determined only by the weapon speed. So putting something like a Ruby Jewel of Fervor or IAS from like High Lords in that amulet. High Lords is a great amulet for the Deadly Strike based on character level, but off weapon IAS does not influence the breakpoints specifically for Whirlwind only. So since this is a Whirlwind IK Barbarian, I have 2 Shale Runes in my maul because that's what I need to reach the final breakpoint. Now, if you want to experiment with different gear on other characters and you want to see what the IAS breakpoints are, I do encourage you to check out the D2 IAS Calculator. I have a link for that website in the description. But I need 2 Shale Runes to hit the max IAS breakpoint. It's actually 69, which is kind of a funny number. It's a funny joke on stream, but 69 is the breakpoint to reach the, it's the final breakpoint for the maul, but we can only achieve that through either using 2 Shale Runes or 2 Ruby Jewels of Fervor. Now, this is an expensive character build, but I am not wasting IAS Ruby Jewels of Fervor in the maul. No way. Second point, or just disclaimer, is this is a godly character setup because we are shooting for Player's 8 specifically with the IK Barbs, so we don't have like Dual Grief, Enigma, Fortitude, but I do have some very expensive max damage IAS charms and really godly Merc to compensate or to help out my Barbarian. But again, I didn't go quite to the extreme of putting Ruby Jewels of Fervor in the maul or socketing the body armor, so there is a little bit room for improvement with this character build, but it's pretty much as good as it can get. And the final disclaimer, or just point I want to talk about, guys, is that if you want a budget-friendly version of a Whirlwind Barbarian, I do have a previously made video on my YouTube channel. The link for that is in the description as well, so you guys are more than welcome to check it out. I go into really in-depth detail breaking down the skill tree, the attributes, and why I use which specific gear for a budget-friendly version. So I do encourage you to reference that video if you want a little bit more in-depth explanation of like the attributes and the skill tree, because I'm kind of just going to whip through that in this video and then mainly focus on the gear and then doing the actual final Player's 8 bail run. But to go over the attributes really briefly, it is max Vita, so the bare minimum strength requirement to equip the gear, which is not 156. I know you guys are used to hearing me say that from a lot of my caster builds. It's 232 strength because that's what I need to wear the body armor. Nothing into dex. I get enough attack rating from Raven Frost, the enchant proc when struck with the full IK set, so don't need to worry about that. We also have full inventory of max damage AR life skillers, or sorry, life charms, sorry, they're not skillers. So I get lots of attack rating that way. And then all of my remaining points are put into vitality for a total of 2,212 health before bow. Now to go over the skill tree, the only changes that I have from the budget Whirlwind Barbarian build is that I decided to invest a decent amount of points into Warcry. I use that on Switch for every wave to get the stun length. So one hard point was, I believe, a 3-second stun duration, which is maybe fine with a godly setup, but I decided to invest a few more extra skill points just to get it up to nearly 5-second duration. So typically when I, max my masteries, my 1-point wonders, max Whirlwind, all the prerequisites, and then 1 point into Berserk, and I have like maxed battle orders and shout, 1 into battle command. Typically I would put my remaining points into Iron Skin, but instead for this particular build I just put my remaining points into Warcry. So as far as gear goes, there's not really a lot of alternative options because it is the IK set. I mean, there's a little bit of variability with your second ring, your amulet choice, and I guess your inventory, but you're pretty much stuck with the gear that you have. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about gear variability, but I do have the full IK set here. So the boots, The helmet, now I have 2 ED jewels socketed in this helmet, that's why it is 78% enhanced damage. The body armor, obviously, now I didn't use a socket quest for this, so technically I could and maybe put another 40 ED jewel in it. At the end of the day, it's not going to make too much of a difference, but there is a lot of really cool stats and attributes when you have this full set together. I mean, 3 barbarian skills, attack rating, life, 50 to 12 resistances. I mean, there's FHR bonuses. There's a lot of cool stuff. The 5% chance to cast level 5 enchant when struck is really neat as well, because that is definitely going to proc when I'm doing the Whirlwind through the Bale runs, through like the mobs and different waves. I'm definitely going to have that enchant proc go off. The IK belt, the maul, which I have 2 shale runes in it to reach that 80% increased attack speed. Now again, like I mentioned earlier, you need 69. That is the sweet magic number to reach the final IAS breakpoint for Whirlwind, which you could achieve with 2 Ruby Jewels of Fervor, but I am not wasting that kind of wealth. The maul does give me 40% crushing blow, which is pretty cool, because it's like I said again, I don't have like gore riders and stuff like that to get different sources of crushing blow, so I really like that. And then the gloves, these are really nice. I mean, mana stolen per hit, life stolen per hit as well. So when you combine that with this dual leech ring that I have, I do have 16% mana stolen per hit, 14% life stolen per hit in total. So it is a pretty nice combination. Now for the amulet, I'm using High Lord's Wrath. The $1 skills helps boost my battle orders and whatnot. The Deadly Strike is really good as well. The 20 increased attack speed, like we mentioned previous, any IAS that's off weapon doesn't help you with Whirlwind, but I feel like it is pretty much the #1 in choice slot amulet. And then I do have a Raven Frost for the attack rating, dexterity, and mostly cannot be frozen. That's my source. Now, as far as on Switch goes, I have 2 Hodos. Now, you can't use CTA, or you can use CTA, but it caps out at 3. So I just went, or caps out at 3 for battle orders, sorry. So I just went with 2 Hodos on Switch to boost my battle orders by a total of 6 skill points. Now, you could use like Warcry sticks, but the reason I went with 2 Hodos is for the FCR, because I am going to be casting Warcry on Switch, so I want a higher FCR level to get it going, to spam it, to stun the waves when they're spawned. But again, like I said, it is a very expensive build option that I'm going with. Then as far as the inventory goes, I have a Torch and Annie, 19, 6 Annie, 15, 18 Barb Torch. Then my entire inventory is assorted max damage, attack rating, life, or max damage, attack rating, strength, charm. So it's a 9, 69, 23, 10, 66, 3, and it just, you kind of go through. This is a really nice one, 10, 75, 40. It's literally nearly perfect. But again, like I could go over every single individual charm, but you get the idea. They're all different assorted, expensive max damage, attack rating, life charms. And as far as the mercenary gear goes, I'm using pretty much the standard god tier melee merc setup, and that is G-Face with a Ruby Jewel of Fervor. This one is a 15-14 jewel. Eth Reaper's Toll with a 15, I believe it's like a 32 jewel in it. I can't remember exactly, has 13 life stolen per hit. So this is a pretty good Eth Toll. Mainly for the Decrep proc, it reduces their physical resistance, reduces their damage, and slows them down. So it is pretty much vital. It drastically increases my damage. I really don't think there's any other viable players 8 mercenary weapon selection for this particular build. And then for the body armor, I'm using Treachery. Fortitude is a good alternative option, but between the 45 IS on Treachery, 15 from the helmet, and 15 from the weapon, I hit the 75 IS breakpoint with a Thresher. Again, refer to the IAS Calculator if you want to know breakpoints and whatnot for your mercenary. But basically, it's just a proc to Crepify as frequently as I can. I mean, Treachery has also other nice features like the Fade proc, which gives him DR, caps out his res, etc. But that basically is a quick kind of general summarization of the gear that I'm using. It is a very godly setup. So now I want to do a Players 8 Bill run and see how he makes out. Just typing it in there, Players 8, so you guys can see it is a legit Players 8 run. Now, one of the worst things about this build is I am so used to Enigma and teleporting and repositioning the mercenary that it takes a little bit of time to get used to that. But at least the full IK Barb actually runs pretty quick. which is pretty interesting. I almost run like I have Enigma. And then on Switch I have Leap Attack, so I can kind of jump over big mobs or just Whirlwind through them. It doesn't really matter. But hopefully I can get my Mercenary repositioned in the throne room for the bail runs. That's the plan, hopefully. Because this is, like I said, Players 8 difficulty. The hardest setting. Oop, there you go, take a bit of damage there. The hardest setting that you can set these monsters to. So, Forest Fencitars. So there's Murmurk. Death Lords, sorry. Get everything cleared. Could be using Warcry on Switch maybe. I usually only like to use it right before the wave spawn. I don't like switching back and forth between like whirlwinds and then casting it, but it's kind of a personal preference thing. I got stuck with, or hit with mana burn. Something mana burn me there. Mana burn is a whirlwind barb's best friend. Not at all. Just kidding. Gonna berserk these individual ones. Warcry prepped for the wave. Start spamming it when he goes to cast him. One thing that I noticed is that when you switch back and forth between like doing some whirls and then you want to go back to recast it, it's kind of annoying because you can kind of get where you're berserking instead by accident, like with the way the keys switch, if that makes any sense. It's just... that was a bad timing. You just don't get interrupted when you can just hold your whirlwind down and just keep whirlwinding through everything. But that is kind of like a preference, I guess. Or just recast it. I am by no means a whirlwind barbing expert, but I do need to kind of get a little bit better at this because I want to plan on leveling my barbarian to 95 through these bail runs. So that's annoying. That mana burn by something. I was hoping for preferable wave spawns, but... oh well, that's not too bad. Done. I don't want to know how much longer these runs would take if it wasn't for Decrep. See, this is what I was talking about. I could re-switch to cast Warcry again, but I feel like after the initial run, it's just better to keep whirlwinding. You guys want to let me know in the comment section below if you agree or not. I am by no means a whirlwind barb expert, but 3 waves down, we got the 2 hardest ones to go, which we're doing with 9k barb, which is kind of cool. Trying to keep my whirlwinds tight and short. I almost wonder if it would be better to invest even more points into Warcry, get a longer duration, but it's something I'll kind of have to experiment later on. This is more just testing to see if we can be Players 8 viable, and we have the last wave now, so hopefully Lister is not physical immune. I guess I can berserk him if he is, but... come on, Merc. Where are ya? That Decrep proc. just casted that enchant proc there. I don't know if you guys saw it from being hit. Definitely significantly boost my attack rating. Okay, looks like we're making it through the final wave. Definitely think G-Face would have been, G-Face, Dual Grief would have been a little bit quicker, but we're getting it done. And there's just Bale left. Boom, done. Very cool. Now we can do a Bale run. Or no, sorry, now we can take on Bale. I mean do a Bale run. We're doing a Bale run right now, Debrunski. Alright, so hopefully this Merc can get here and rock the crep. Come on, Golzar. There we go, we got the crep rocked. Try to get the Whirlwinds as short as I can. His health at almost half. Not bad for IK Barb, I think. He's holding his own. Although the Decrep and the Merc is probably honestly doing more than I am, but who knows? He's almost down. I think he's just about done. Materials Might. Oh, it's an Amuletta. Unique Amuletta. If I find Metal Grid, item level 99, find a Metal Grid doing this test video, that is going to be the most epic way to cap it off. Like literally epic finish. But let's, please, please, please. Oh man, what else could it be but a Nokazan relic? Well guys, there you have it. So we did answer the question. Yes, an IK Barb can be Player's 8 viable. Now I did have some very high-end gear, but we managed to make it a successful character. By no means is it the equivalent of like Dual Grief, Fortitude, but is definitely a viable character. And you can imagine a setup like this on lower difficulty setting would run stuff over. But guys, I really do hope you enjoyed this video. This was actually suggested during one of my live streams to do a full IK Barb video. If you guys really enjoyed this sort of set builds for characters, I could go through and do like Alders, Full Towels, and that kind of thing. We'll just work our way through the sets. But guys, if you could throw a like on this video, share it. And if you consider subscribing if you're new to my Diablo 2 YouTube channel, post new weekly content and stream on a consistent basis, so there's always new stuff to look forward to, and your support with a subscription would mean a lot. Other than that, guys, I will see you on my next Diablo 2 video or live stream. Have a good one.